mono white devotion in Pioneer. So I took this for a spin this morning for the first time. Got a fairly easy 4-1 with this pile of cards that doesn't particularly seem like it's going to be very good. But then you remember that as we were getting the previews for Theros Beyond Death, this card, Heliod Suncrown, popped up as something that people thought might be a problem. And the reason why is its interaction with Walking Ballista. So Heliod Suncrown says whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or enchantment you control, and it has 1 and a white. Another target creature gains lifelink until end of turn. If you use that ability with Walking Ballista, which has the ability to remove a +1/+1 counter to deal 1 damage to any target, that goes infinite, and you can deal infinite damage to anything you want. You also gain infinite life if that matters. So people posited that this could be a problematic interaction in the Pioneer format and possibly even in Modern. That has not seemed to be true. However, the deck is still very reasonable. This seems to be the most powerful shell for this combo that has popped up. So it's a mono white devotion deck. So we've got heavy white pips and just a general level of synergy throughout all of our creatures. Now, one of the things that really surprised me about this deck as I was playing it today is how much it feels like an upper mid-range / control deck. There are 26 lands and 4 copies of Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, and a couple of different mana sinks. Really allows you to do a lot of very powerful things. And if you have a Walking Ballista, you're going to have a bunch of mana to sink into that. Then we've got a bunch of the decent sideboard tools in the Modern format. And exile-based removal, specifically Baffling End and Stasis Snare, proved to be very good. Black-green and blue-green monsters-style decks are popping up all over the place, and this gives you some game against them. Daxos Blessed by the Sun was really shocking. He will routinely have upwards of 8 toughness in games, and it just sits there as a 2/8 creature that, in addition to gaining you life when you're playing creatures, can just stonewall some very large creatures from your opponent. Arcanist Owl looks a little bit clunky here. We're basically casting it for white. It is a 4-mana 3/3 flying, but when it enters the battlefield, you get to look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can choose an artifact or enchantment card and put them in your hand. So in this deck, there are not only heaps of removal as well as these main deck rest in pieces that we get to play, but your Walking Ballista and Heliod Suncrown both get hit by that, and so that allows you to find combo pieces relatively consistently. So, and then spread all over the place, we've just got general other white mid-range tools. So I'm going to hop into a league here and see how this goes. This is Yama Killer's list. Earlier today I was playing a slightly different configuration of this deck, but I think they're mostly just shades of different. I played them against, where is it? Where are they? Oh, I guess QB Turtles is a Modern League leader. Played against QB Turtles earlier today, and I managed to get a win against them with this. I think they're a trophy leader, but maybe in the Modern format. They're usually up there somewhere. Oh, way too low. Oh, Pensword's doing great. 10 trophies. Not seeing them, but I know they're around. Alright, we are queued up and rocking and rolling into here. Yeah, apparently they're playing Rest in Peace main in this list, so I can double check it against the Stream Decker where I uploaded this list, but I believe that is correct. I won the die roll, good way to start. But this hand is not a great place to start, so we're going to mulligan that. This is a pretty weak second hand. May have to go to 5 on the play. Got 2 Knight of the White Orchid in our 26 land deck, but the problem is I only have 1 draw to try to get to my second land, so I don't think I can keep this. Funny thing about it is we hit the second land, we can get to the third land with the Knight, but yeah, I'm going to mulligan that again. So not doing so hot on this first couple of hands. I guess this is the best one we've hit so far. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to bottom the Arcanist Owl and the Heliod. I know that I can't currently cast this Knight of the White Orchid, but we do have an awful lot of sources in our deck. Actually, no. You know what? We're going to toss the Knight and the Arcanist Owl, because with any land I can then play Heliod and have Heliod Ballista. Maybe we squeak out a win that way. Getting started here. Shisha. And just double checking that my deck is in fact... It's supposed to have 6 main deck enchantments. I remember seeing that. Yeah, 2 Rest in Peace is part of that. So that's kind of neat. Well, that sucks. So, mull to 5, then Thoughtseized. Super. This is the world we're living in, folks. This is the world we're living in. So, I guess based on the fact that I drew that, I'm just going to fire off this Rest in Peace. So, at a minimum, this greatly reduces their ability to cast Dig Through Time, which they're going to have most likely 4 copies of in their Bane deck, in the Inverter deck. However, it does mean that if they have Jace, if they resolve a Jace Wielder of Mysteries, then they can immediately combo me if they play an Inverter. But that's... them's the breaks. I'm going to hold on to this Ballista. It's probably wrong. I should have just played it to the board. If they have a Fatal Push, we got to chew through that anyway. If they have any kind of discard here, they get to take the Ballista. I was thinking I wanted to crack the clue at the end of their turn and get 2 draws here, but that's probably not correct. Yeah, it's because their Thought Erasure would have been largely useless for the rest of the game if we were able to just keep playing out our hand, but, well, they put a Dig Through Time into their graveyard. That's pretty lucky opponent. Pretty lucky opponent. We got a replacement Ballista, so no justice here. Just Scrybugs all the way down. Unfortunately, we drew this largely useless Baffling End. I'm baffled by that draw. Just going to dump this Walking Ballista into play. It's not really going to get a lot better than this, and if they do have a Fatal Push, they're going to fire it off reasonably soon. So, yep, there it is. They were just waiting on us. So, down 2 Walking Ballistas, but we don't have any way to rebuy them anyway, so doesn't look like I'm in too rough shape here. They were missing land drops, so we've got that going for us. Thraben Inspector is on the 12-turn plan. We're foiled. Or are we? We get to Baffling End that bad girl. So get her out of there and then keep the pressure on. And one of the nice things about this deck is the exile-based removal means that they... like, obviously, we have Rest in Peace, so it wouldn't work that way, but they do not have a graveyard for the Thassa's Oracles to go to if we were destroying things and putting them in their graveyard. One of the things about the Inverter deck is actually destroying their Thassa's Oracles is kind of awkward because then they shuffle back into the deck when they cast the Inverter, and then they're guaranteed to have a combo piece, but having exile-based removal in this deck means that they don't get that advantage, so that's kind of nice. Pretty sure the Baffling Ends and the Snares are coming out for Game 2. I would think. Not 100% sure what's coming in. Probably Gideon, and more Gideons. Alright, so there's the Jace. We really have to kill this ASAP. Probably not going to be able to do it, but we shall try. Nykthos generates 4 mana for us, so that's kind of sweet. This Plains generates 1 mana for us, so that's kind of sweet. So put Jace to 5. Going to, yeah, make some mana, crack my clue. Draw another Plains, cool. Yeah, we don't have anything to do. So hopefully I don't just have the Inverter in hand. If they do, we are Dunskies. Sure. Mill themselves for 2. See if anything fancy has gone into the graveyard. Does not look like it. Unfortunately, our opponent has the extra land in play to play around Mana Tithe, so they should not be concerned about playing Inverter here. Thought Erasure. Sure, you can see my naked hand. See this? Isn't it sweet? Oh, it's fantastic. So if I had attacked them, they would currently be at 9, but then this turn I'd only be able to put them to 8, so... Not looking so good when you multi-5 and then get hit with a Thoughtseize, but this Rest in Peace has probably been clunking them up a little bit, so that's not too bad. Though they did get to scry for 5 there with the Thassa's Oracle, which is kind of gross. It's hitting more planes. Trying to navigate my way through this game as quickly as possible. The fact that they keep activating their Jace feels okay, but they haven't flipped a single inverter, so that's super awkward. They have to have one in hand by now. They can't have that many rest or dig through times stuck in their hands. They put a draw step stop. Okay. I guess I'm stopping them from getting the -8 eventually right now, so that's something, question mark. Daxos gives us some more devotion pips here. Just going to play out my hand. Gives me the maximum amount of mana for next turn. So if I draw an Arcanist Owl, that could get us somewhere, but I cannot imagine that we're going to do... Yeah, okay, so that's just game. So tough break on game 1 against Inverter. So Baffling End out. Stasis Snare out. And then we have Rest in Peace, Gideon. Gideon the Trials, Gideon allies Zendikar, and then Elspeth conquers death seems okay. Alright. Gideon Blackblade doesn't seem like anything that I want to be playing, so maybe it is. 4/4 indestructible that can attack every turn. Just adds to the Chad tribal. But I don't know if there's anything else in particular that's not a good fit in our deck. The only thing I kind of think of is like Arcanist Owl. Or I guess we're on the place and Knight of the White Orchid is not as good. But dragging my curve up like that seems wrong. Yeah, I think I'm just going to stick with this. Alright, rocking and rolling into game 2. Would I like to play first? Yes, please. Would I like to mulligan this hand? No. No, I have a keepable 7. I would like this. And my opponent mulls to 6, at least. Opponent mulls to 5. Sweet. Alright, so looks like we might have a decent time here in game the 2nd. Alright. That's not what I clicked. Alright, we got an Inspector. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-beep-boo. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-beep-boo. Beep-a-doop-bop-bop, beep-a-doop-bop-bop, beep-a-doop, 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 beep-a-doop-beep-a-doop. You don't have anything to cast during my upkeep for 0 mana. Your land is tapped. Your land is tapped! But it is by Rob Alexander, which does make it pretty great. Come on, Ned. Give me my turn. There we go. Was that so hard? I don't think it was so hard. Daxos. Blessed by the sun. Daxos, why you gotta be so blessed? Why you got to be so blessed? Wow, they're really milking all sorts of time out of our interactions. This sweet Jace Vryn's Prodigy Oh, I have a new icon I can use. I figure I'm just going to stick with the Royal Scions. They got me this far. Might as well stick with the Scions that got me here, you know? Alright. On 2 mana, I can't imagine what particular, like, counter magic or whatnot they can have. I don't think they would bring anything like negate against me, because so many of my threats are creatures, but I'm just going to play out a Walking Ballista here. It's just generally threatening against them, so. There's a good chance they have Doomblade, Fatal Push, something like that, but I do want to tax their mana a little bit, and since I have this glut of Walking Ballistas, this is fine. Okay. Daxos and Anafenza both do lead to situations where if you have a Heliod in play and you play the Walking Ballista, you can combo off for less mana. Which I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of talking about right now, but if they do come up, there are ways to do that. Daxos by giving you a life gain trigger, and Anafenza by giving the Walking Ballista an extra counter. So you end up spending 2 less mana on those turns. Important interactions to be aware of if you want to play this deck. Nykthos is a fine draw here. It's not great or anything like that, but it's alrighty. So Nykthos currently at mana parity. It doesn't give me any extra mana to activate. Okay. I guess I want to continue to tax their mana, and playing a Planeswalker is a card type that is kind of tricky for them to remove. I'm going to grab the Emblem. Can't attack this turn, so there's no real incentive for me to activate him for that. Yeah, they're going to kill it in response. That's fine. Tapped all their mana. We've still got pressure on here, so. Kalitas. Yeah, that's a big boy. Alright, could be in trouble with that guy. So I can play a Walking Ballista for 2, but I can't activate any of them. If they have a removal, I'm in trouble. I boarded out things like Stasis Snare because the Inverter deck has a bunch of different sideboard plans, and for some reason I just wasn't thinking about Kalitas being super relevant. So if they have removal, definitely going to be in trouble quickly with this, but... So I probably just want to be able to draw a card this turn. If I want to be able to draw a card this turn, there's nothing wrong with just drawing it now. Land, of course. Why wouldn't it be? We'll just play out a second Ballista. If they're able to... If they have a removal spell to kill 1 Ballista, I would rather have a backup in play. And just pass the turn. Fingers crossed for Idyllic Grange. Yes, this deck does play Lagrange. Okay, I don't know what is up with my mail messages. For some reason, my mail always loves to pop up while I'm streaming. Just like, I boot up Magic the Gathering Online, and it's just like, you've got mail. You need all of these updates. You need to know all the emails that you got right now. So they target themselves. No, they target me to mill. Hit Idyllic Grange and Plains. So there's your Idyllic Grange, Roy. We did, in fact, hit one. Okay, so if I swing at Jace with everything, they block my Daxos. I can put a counter on Ballista. Hit Jace for 1, 2, 3, 4. So they'll block one of my Ballistas. So I should be able to fairly easily kill the Jace at that point and kill the Jace, but I'm going to lose probably a Ballista, and then they get a zombie token. So, but I think killing the Jace is fairly worthwhile because right now they're in a situation where if I allow them to resolve an Inverter, then they're just going to win on the spot. So not really interested in them doing that. So gonna go combat. Oh, they can't block and kill my Daxos anymore, so they have to block something else. They won't gain any life on this interaction, but... So my Nykthos taps for 1, 2, 3, 4. So that does give me, yeah, enough to pump a Ballista. So put a +1/+1 counter on this Ballista. Why do my opponents have everything all the time? This is like just the worst. We are still going to kill the Jace, so we're not out of this game yet, but them getting 2 zombies is super brutal. So we go post-combat. I've got a clue in play that I would like to crack, but they play discard. They play a mixture of discard and removal spells, which always makes these games super awkward. But so this is 1, 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4 from this, 5, 6, 7. I need 9 to combo with Heliod. If I play the Heliod first, it gives me 1 more mana, but that's still not enough. We're just in a rough spot here, so I'm going to pass the turn. Hopefully I don't have more discard, and that we get to combo, because it doesn't look like we're going to be able to pressure them out of this game. The Kalitas just getting set up with too many, and they have another Jace. Super duper. Okay. Arcanist Owl and Heliod getting milled. Yeah. Hopefully they don't have another Doomblade. Legions and my Daxos. Cool. Ping. Put the second counter on Ballista. Give the Ballista 2 lifelink and combo. It doesn't work that way. That's not Heliod. Yeah, that is Daxos. No longer of Melidus. Now he's Daxos, blessed by the sun. I did announce his name when I played him, although I don't expect you to remember. It is, in fact, a different Greek dude. He's not a god, he's a demigod, so nowhere near as powerful. We lost 2 white pips there, which is super unfortunate, because now I have, like, nothing going on. So, yeah, x equals 3 here. Yeah. Yeah, still just need to kind of draw a Heliod here. Super in trouble. Just Inverter doing blue-black control things and beating us up. So it does happen. And they usually don't sideboard a large number of Kalitas, but just got a little unlucky and they hit it when they needed it. Play Anafenza here. And that means we can crank the Ballista just once. Unless I want to use my Nykthos this turn for extra cranks. There's no particular reason to do that, especially with their Kalitas having full mana up. Although, if they sacked a zombie to Kalitas, I could crank the Ballista and deal 4 damage in response, but that wouldn't actually win the game. So, not worth considering yet. Fatal Push. Why wouldn't they have another one? All right. So suppose it's better to do this the more efficient way. So add equal to my devotion. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I can shoot the Kalitas for 4 in response, but it's not. They can just sacrifice a zombie to give it 2+1/+1 counters. So I think I need to ping the Jace some amount, because next turn it goes up to 8. I don't really think it matters. I think we're just done here. So unfortunately, they had all the removal where they needed it, and they're going to beat us on their mull to 5. Kalitas, very powerful mid-range card, so Be warned. Your deck can have good answers in it, but sometimes they don't matter. So Thraben Inspector is interesting with the Anafenza because it's going to... Goodness gracious, never mind. They're just going to have infinite removal. Gotcha. Okay, well, we finally drew a Heliod, which is something, I guess? Is it? I don't know if that matters at all. So this is only 1, 2, 3. Play Heliod. Heliod's not even animate yet, so it's not impressive, and I don't have enough mana to give anything lifelink, so definitely not looking super hot here. But we could just top deck a Ballista and win the game. We could top deck the 4th Ballista. Yeah, 1, 2, 3 in exile, none in my graveyard. So there is a world in which we can do that. Castle Ardenvale. Well, this gives us a chump blocker for Kalitas every turn that doesn't give them another zombie, so that ain't not bad. We can also give that creature that token lifelink, and then that will allow us to put counters on our Thraben Inspectors or our Heliod. So we got something going on. Unfortunately, their Jace has just drawn them like 7 cards. Oh! Oh my. Well then. So, block Kalitas with 1, block 2 zombies with another, take 6. This gives me 4. So I can give that human lifelink and one of my Thraben Inspectors lifelink. This way, whichever one of my Thraben Inspectors survives this combat, I'll put a counter on that one and a counter on the one that wasn't in combat. So I'll have 2 2/3s at the end of this, which is not too bad. So one of the more interesting things about playing this deck has been the fact that I get to like interact with combat, the combat step, more than I have in a long time. And the deck does do a bunch of interesting things with it, so. Obviously, this game is a pretty rough sort of nightmare scenario against the Kalitas, but it's what happens if you sideboard poorly. Do not... Yeah, I don't know. I thought that Walking Ballista would be enough for things like Pack Rats, and for some reason I wasn't thinking about Kalitas. So live and learn. Live and learn. They mill me. They did not hit the next Walking Ballista yet, so... Kind of in a better position to block this turn than we were last turn. They're still just like gaining infinite life by swinging into us, but now we get to eat 2 of their zombies and chump block Kalitas and make one of the Thraben Inspectors even larger, so they stop attacking, which makes sense. Should have made a 1/1 and end turn there. I did not. I have 2 legendaries in my hand, so that sucks. I guess I have a redundant Heliod if I need it, but they're very comfortable just plussing their Jace and gonna have 6 cards in hand, so Narset, sure. So now if we draw another Thraben Inspector, we can't even use that. We could use the clue on their turn, I suppose. They Narset for Opt, so if they're looking for Inverter or something like that, they can find it fairly easily. I don't know. Maybe they shaved on combo and they just went all mid range here, but Knight of the White Orchid is not awful here because it does turn on my Heliod. Also lets me go get an Idyllic Grange. So now I've got a 6/6 The Abyss. Jace is going to go off on 8. So I really have to start connecting with him. Unfortunately, Heliod doesn't fly. So I really need to draw an Arcanist Owl somewhere there. They have a Fatal Push. They just turn off my Heliod. I'm just done with this game. It's very, very technically possible that I could somehow win out there, but I'm not interested in playing that out. So bit of an unlucky match there. Mulled a 5 on game 1. They mulled a 5 on game 2, but they just slammed a Heliod or a Kalitas that I completely could not deal with, and we got beat up. Them's the breaks, and I do believe there's a good chance that I'll just end up playing Inverter this weekend at the event where I'm probably playing the Pioneer seat. This deck seemed interesting and novel, and the league I played earlier today actually started off in a similar fashion. I got 2-0'd by the Blue-Green Monsters deck, and just won out all of the rest of the matches in pretty interesting fashion, so definitely still have some faith that this deck can provide us with some good games. It's a pretty middling hand, but we do have 1-drop, 2-drop with 1-pip, double pip, and we got a redraw off the Thraben Inspector, so I'll try it. Just having the mana to cast your spells is like one of the big things. Having the mana to cast your spells is like just a game. All right, I'm gonna play out this Knight of the White Orchid aggressively. Means I don't get the extra value from it, which I loathe. I love extra value. Extra value is the most delicious thing in the world, but it does get us closer to having an awakened Heliod. So black-white could be. Oh, okay, enchantments. Got it. Well, that's something. All right, that's not the best draw, but I'll take it. We do have a hand with all lands in it, so if they do have any discard spells or anything of that nature, they can't do anything. But Kaya's Oath of Kaya would be really dicey here. Luckily, they're just missing land drops, so that's not too bad for us. Before I play a land, just going to crack this clue. So if I draw a double white card, I could play it if I play the Plains. Can't play it if I play the Nykthos. Let's play the Castle Ardenvale. Give my Knight of the White Orchid lifelink. Attack. Put a +1/+1 counter on it. So this is now a Slith Knight of the White Orchid, which is pretty sick. We're flooded. Our opponent is choked, so definitely got some interesting Magic the Gathering happening here. It does mean that they have 7, 8 spells in hand, so that's like less than great. And they did find a piece of removal for our 1 creature. Well, take me home, Castle Ardenvale. Take me home. Blue-black Inverter or blue-white Control are probably what I would end up playing this weekend, but this deck is certainly neat. There's the Thoughtseize I was expecting. That's my shame. My secret shame. Ephemia the Cacophony. Well, that's super unfortunate. That is really, really good right now. And, yeah. We do have things like Walking Ballista to pick up, so definitely have a lot of good cards still in our deck. I just like to draw something that wasn't a land at some point. They're playing the black-white enchantment mid-range control kind of deck. They pick up Baffling End here to exile the Ephemia, so that ain't not bad. Means we're still kind of in this. They hit a 4th land, so now they're going to start playing some more powerful spells. Doom Foretold. That's super, super good right now. We either have to sacrifice our Baffling End, give them a 3/3, or sacrifice our Heliod. So, yeah. Yeesh. I don't know if there's a way out of this game. I think we just have to sacrifice everything until their Doom Foretold goes away, probably. Yeah, I was trying to click a permanent. Arcanist Owl is one of the better draws in our deck, at least, because we get to go Nykthos, play the Owl, hit the Ballista. All right, do I have enough mana to kill them right now? So Nykthos taps for 5. 5's not enough. I need slightly more mana, but if I get to next turn, I do just win. The question is this Ballista safer in my hand or in play? I think it's probably safer in play. It also gets to do more in play, I guess. Sure. So first things first, just going to attack with my Heliod. I have a second Nykthos? No, I played the first one this turn. I think I should have played out a Nykthos earlier. But I didn't because, I don't know, sloppy bad player, I suppose. Was 1 mana short of being able to win the game there, so if I had an extra Nykthos that I could have played, I would have been able to just take the game right there. But live and learn. We do have them on a bit of a clock. Although if they remove the Walking Ballista, then I have to sacrifice the Arcanist Owl or the Heliod. Sacrificing the Owl will cause the Heliod not to be animate anymore. So, okay, they just scooped. So they had no out there. So got lucky, combo kill. Or the combo was able to win the game for us. So exile target white permanent. Okay, so that seems okay against what they're doing. Rest in Peace seems like it also can be okay against what they're doing. Gideon ally of Zendikar is not particularly good. Stasis Snare also not particularly good. Suppose getting rid of their Ephemia is not bad, but Baffling End is definitely something I do not care for here. And then now we're going to be on the draw, so Knight of the White Orchid is sort of at its best. I think 1 Rest in Peace. And then I do want most of the rest of these. Elspeth Conquers Death is a little expensive, but it's pretty powerful. Although I guess, no, I'm bringing in more Rest in Peace, so I don't really want that. So I just need 2 more cuts here. I think Gideon and Gideon are not particularly good in the face of the deck they're playing, I think. Yeah, seems all right. I don't know if I really need to go up to a 3rd Rest in Peace. I think I can just keep keep the 3rd Gideon of the Trials, or no, split it up and get the Gideon ally of Zendikar so I can have 2 Gideons in play. But I think Rest in Peace is not something I want to lean super hard into. It's like reasonable to have because they probably are playing Starfield of Nyx, and they already showed us Ephemia, but. And then Rest in Peace also just sits around and adds to our devotion pips, so it's just generally an okay card to have in this matchup. This is a pretty ideal hand. So on turn 2, we get to play our choice of Rest in Peace, Daxos, Walking Ballista. And they are a deck that wants to be hitting all of their land drops, so there's a very good chance they're going to have their 3rd land, and we're going to be able to play our Knight of the White Orchid on 2, get another land, to play another 2-drop. So we get to curve it pretty hard this game. Thoughtseize. Well, slightly unfortunate, but there is very little chance to take the Knight of the White Orchid, so Now the White Orchid also sets up a third plains, but we have this Castle Ardenvale, which makes that slightly awkward. So actually, right now our Idyllic Grange cannot come into play untapped. No shame this time, all gas. And I meant to switch that to there. Alright, switch to gameplay. Okay, so they got my Walking Ballista, which is good because I top decked a Heliod. I'm just going to play out Daxos right now. They don't have an enchantment in their graveyard, so Ephemia's not doing anything. I just want to play to the board and start putting some pressure onto the battlefield. If they have a Trial of Ambition, it's going to get fired off eventually, so... Treacherous Blessing. That's a very, very good card. So this is draw 3 cards, lose, and now from now on they lose 1 life every time they cast a spell. But that's only as long as that card is in play. This Plains was a good draw because it means I have 2 mana this turn. So, yes. Knight of the White Orchid can get an Idyllic Grange, but because of the number of Plains I had in play, that would not go well for me. So opponent is up an awful lot of cards right now. Here's hoping that this Rest in Peace is going to diffuse some number of them. They didn't hit a 4th mana right away, so that's not bad. Now we get to keep this Glare of Heresy up next turn in case they have a Doom Foretold. Oath of Kaya is excellent. They get to pick off my Knight of the White Orchid. So, take me down to 4 Devotion pips. Idyllic Grange is good here. Get to buff up my boy Daxos. It's all jacked in Greek. Eat your heart out, Gideon. You ain't look like this anymore. Boy's gone soft. Soft and ashy. It's been taking in way too much sun. So, cool. Just hanging out for now. Second Rest in Peace is not the worst thing in the world. It means I get to wake up my Heliod. See if we can crack in here. There's a good chance that they kill my Daxos during combat and my Heliod just becomes a sad boy. They do have the Shambling Vent they can boot up and block with. If they do, I could Glare of Heresy it. I don't think that I want to do that. I think I'm okay with just connecting here. I'm going to give Daxos lifelink. This allows me to put an extra counter on Heliod. I didn't have mana to do anything else either anyway, so putting the counter on Heliod because Heliod isn't indestructible. So if for whatever reason they have, say, a board wipe or something like that, then the next time I wake up Heliod, he will be bigger. Puts triggered ability from... I played post-combat end step cast out. Okay. Targeting Heliod. Glare of Heresy is a sorcery. Cool, cool. Things that I did not know. Good to learn. So... Don't know why they did that end step instead of more aggressively, but Trial of Ambition, sure. Just gonna kill my Daxos. If I pick up a double pip white card, that doesn't really do much for me. Euphemia is fine because they don't have anything to eat out of their graveyard, and right now they're stuck with this Treacherous Blessing in play, which it's really going to limit the number of spells they can play before they die. So, get my Heliod out of jail here, and then I have Castle Ardenvale plus Heliod to possibly pull me through the end of this game. It's definitely getting close. The problem is this Shambling Vent's really good against us right now. Is Doom Foretold? Sure. So this is going to give them the ability to sacrifice their Treacherous Blessing. I do have things to feed to that, so not doomed yet, but certainly not looking great. If we top deck a Ballista, though, I do just get to kill them, which is kind of neat. So not even with combo, just regular old working man's Ballista. Okay, so upkeep, we'll sacrifice one of my rest in pieces. So I have a few pieces to sack here before we go too far awry. Get a clue, crack the clue. Nykthos. Not nothing. It's not anything useful right now. So we get to pass the turn. They get to sack their Treacherous Blessing finally. So getting their self out of the danger zone. It's possible that I'm going to sack my Thraben Inspector on this next turn cycle. Trial of Ambition. Definitely sacking my human token here. Second Trial of Ambition? Sure, I'm going to make another human token. So I need to preserve my non-token permanents to sacrifice to Doom Foretold. That's the current plan. Sure. I think keeping them on no graveyard is still valuable, so I'll sack my Thraben Inspector. It doesn't feel great there, but oof, that's a terrible draw in this situation. Even if I wanted the mana, it wouldn't be giving me anything, so not doing so hot here, but that's alrighty. Sack Trial of Ambition, sure. So finally going to lose our Rest in Peace on the next turn cycle. Good chance they boot up, yeah, Shambling Vents. So they're going to go to 5 here. Thoughtseize. Sure, they go down to 3. Make a 1/1. Alright, 1/1. Be relevant. Do it. I'm going to sacrifice this Rest in Peace. Oh boy. I'm going to attack with my token. This time they don't have a Shambling Vents to put in front of it. Yeah, they are going to put Ephemia in front of it, but I'm going to lifelink it. Heliod's text is very strange. It allows you to put +1/+1 counters on enchantments, including ones that like have no ability to become a creature, but I do not want to do that. I want to yield until next end step. So another Oath of Kaya. Could be. Another Ephemia. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So they're still at 3. If they boot up their Shambling Vents, though, we'll no longer be able to kill them. Yeah. I don't have 10 mana. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I do, actually. So if I top deck the Walking Ballista right now, I can win this game. And not with the combo. Gideon of the Trials. Yeah, it's not... I don't even think I play this here because I'm down to no non-token permanents. So we just let this go. So they're going to have to sacrifice 1 more permanent. Then on the next upkeep, this goes off. I'm going to discard a card, which will be Nykthos. They'll draw a card. They'll gain some life. They're Lost Legacying me. I'm going to call Walking Ballista. That's going to be super unfortunate. Please don't do it. Call something else. Oh, they can't choose artifacts. Sweet. Alright, so they're calling Heliod Sun Crown, which means I can't combo anymore. But there is a chance I could just punk them out, or Gideon can take me to a point where they won't be able to get around what I have. So, can still top deck Ballista to kill them. I've only seen one so far. 41 cards remaining. Oh, no, they're thinning my deck. That's right. Now I have a higher chance of hitting my Walking Ballista. Yeah, can't choose Artifact. You are right, Roy. I haven't played against or with Lost Legacy in a little while. Oh, no, it's all good, bud. It's not like you could affect that decision, right? Like... Alright, so Femia makes another zombie. Zombie, 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 A. Here's my bell. Bell of the Brawl, as the saying goes. Toss my Nykthos. Get a draw step. Now that super flooded, but I guess this happens in a 26 land deck sometimes. So gonna take their Ephemia off of being able to do damage. Gideon is in some small amount of trouble actually. If they just boot up their Shambling Vent, then they have 1, 2, 3, 4 2-power attackers. And I only have a maximum of 3 blockers, so that's kind of crappy. Yeah, this is really bad. It's not really bad so much as I'm just going to lose my Gideon fairly quickly. So I can chump block 2 on a zombie and kill it, which in the long run will save me from being killed at a reasonable pace. But now they're firmly out of Walking Ballista range. I do suppose that Walking Ballista will come in, pick up Ephemia, and I have enough mana that I could pretty quickly machine gun down their board, but that's assuming that their hand has nothing to say about it, which almost definitely does. Well, I can now make 2 humans a turn, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, I can make 2 humans per turn. So I'll have a little nuclear family before we know it. 2.5 humans. Unfortunately, they have a lot of pressure coming out of just the Ephemia and the Shambling Vents. So, like to top deck an Arcanist Owl sooner than later. Gideon, ally of Zendikar, wouldn't really do anything for me. So I'm taking 10 here. Woof. So I'm just going to have to start chumping more aggressively next turn, but they're still going to have 12 power. Okay, so Thraben Inspector is like not the worst start, I suppose. Yeah, that'll do it. Alright, done with this one. My next top deck was another Thraben Inspector, which is going to draw me Walking Ballista, and I wouldn't have enough mana. So I don't want to bring in something like Stasis Snare. I did have 2 Stasis Snares in my deck, so they just were able to do an okay job there. I think maybe Elspeth Conquers Death as a way to destroy things. Maybe take out the ally of Zendikar. It's not quite what I need here. Alright. Alright, let's do it. On the play. Yeah, this is an acceptable hand. Got a decent curve. With the Nykthos, I'm able to cast the Arcanist Owl on 4, but that does make the assumption that they don't kill my Anafenza. Hopefully we'll get through that. Opponent did mull to 5, so there's a reasonable chance that we'll do okay here. I'm guessing that means they kept... Okay, we drew another Plains, which is great. Which means I can play this Anafenza now. And then if they just have the removal, it doesn't really matter if I got them to sequence it on turn 2 or turn 3. If their removal for this is Kaya's... Yeah, okay, so it's Trial. So I was considering playing the Rest in Peace this turn because it doesn't really seem like they have a lot of ways to remove it. They're not particularly interested in doing so. And then cost them using their 2-mana removal spell on turn 3. But because their mulligan was so low, I thought maybe we'll just go for it here. Wonder if they have the Lost Legacy here. They just kept the combo killer. So we lose our Heliods early, which is a little unfortunate. But I do have this Arcanist Owl, so hopefully we can just play a pretty fair game and do okay. Woof. That is nothing but lands, eh? Alright, we pick up a Daxos here, which is not bad. I'm in Daxos. Daxos. Temple, sure. Walking Ball. Yeah, so that will kill them fairly quickly. So 5, 6. Oh, cool. I can be more efficient. Let's do that. So play Daxos. Now I have 7 pips, so basically got to play Daxos, and he adds 2 mana to my Nykthos, so basically comes down for free. So this is the sort of mid-range thing that this deck can occasionally do, where it just vomits out a bunch of stuff. Looks like they got a piece of removal here, Doomblade or otherwise. Final Payment. Sack an artifact or sack an enchantment, sure. So I'm gonna deal 3 damage to them here. Cool. But I have a reasonable amount of power and toughness in play now, so. Okay, gonna crack in for 5. Play a Plains, play a Knight. So we put them to 2 here. Which is good, because we're not drawing anything. But neither are they. Alright, well, we got there. On them mulling to 5, but we got there. So beat the black-white mid-range enchantment deck in a interesting set of 3 with a pretty underwhelming ending. Oh, there's QB Turtle. I was looking for them earlier on the trophy board. I believe my friend Roy would say I should keep this, but I'm going to mulligan this because it has 0 lands. Roy likes to keep very excessively silly hands. This is much better. I'm going to toss one of my Castle Ardenvales because I want more land count for Idyllic Grange. Plains and pass the turn. I know, Roy, I know it was like a perfect hand, but we do need lands in this game. I'm not playing Infect here. We don't all get to have Once upon a time. All right, so red deck wins of some variety. So I'm going to play Rest in Peace first. The reason being, if I play Daxos on his own, he's got 2 toughness. There's a pretty big difference between 2 toughness and 3 toughness in Pioneer. Depending on how aggressive their turn 2 is, I might even play Heliod before I play Daxos. Just because that Mutavault means this is probably the chunky red deck, the big red deck, rather than a more aggressive red deck. So the bigger I can get my creatures, the better. The downside, of course, is that they have Soulscar Mage. Soulscar Mage changes their burn spells into basically having Wither. They put -1/-1 counters on your things instead of dealing damage. So if I played out Daxos there, he would have just become a 0/3, or sorry, 0/1 when they wild slashed it. So 3 ramping Phaging Ferocidons. Okay, we can't gain life, and this has Menace. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, the Ferocidon deals 1 damage to its controller. So our draw is not working out phenomenally for us here, but we can still get there. Fun but terrifying fact. So far, I've won every single game where I've mulled to 5 with Infect. I feel like that's... yeah, that is both fun and terrifying. That's accurate. It's accurate to say that is fun and scary. I mean, I will say, like, the London Mulligan in particular, like, incentivizes linear decks to mull to 5, or, well, mull to 6. So I should mull to 5. Got it. I should mull to 5 because Infect gets kills with mulling to 5. This does make some sense. I can get behind the logic here. Okay, that's a fairly unfortunate draw. Our lifelink does nothing. And this redundant legend is doing very little. Soulscar Mage, sure. Trigger, deal 1 damage to themselves. Yes. We're getting there. We're getting there. Mutavault, sure. Other Mutavault? Are you crazy? I think they might be crazy. So, I don't know if they missed my Castle Ardenvale or what, but yeah, okay. I think my opponent did bad math somewhere, deciding it was good to go in with everything here. So I do take 1 for making the token, but I get to group block the Ferocidon and kill it, which means the next turn I can actually gain life. So I'm going to take 5 here, but then, yeah, I have a couple of different options with my next turn. So feels like a misplay from my opponent, but they do get to put us to 6, which is reasonable. Like, I understand the appeal. Okay. Now the White Orchid's like, okie dokie. That's pretty good. So we go lifelink on Daxos. Gonna play the Knight of the White Orchid. Trigger. Put a counter on... oh, and now Heliod's awake. Yeah, that's alright. So we're in a better spot than we were. We get to attack with Daxos. I can attack with Heliod, but I can't give Heliod lifelink, so I kind of rather have him back on defense. And the Knight of the White Orchid is about to become a 4/4, which I can lifelink on blocking. So I think them allowing us to kill their Rampaging Ferocidon gratuitously punished them. Because that ramming up ruins doesn't really scare me much anymore. Karizev, that's fine. And by fine, I mean, like, largely irrelevant. If I get to attack with this Knight of the White Orchid, it's, like, almost game over, because I'm going to lifelink for 4. They pretty much can't attack into us, so... So with my response to the London Mulligan hasn't broken the game as prophesied, I think what the idea was that it was going to make the linear decks more powerful. The statistics I've seen is that like it hasn't made them that much more powerful, but it hasn't made them that much more powerful in proportion to all the other decks. Basically, everyone gets a boost from the London Mulligan, and while the linear decks do get slightly more of one, it's not enough to matter. And I agree that it's made the game more enjoyable because basically what's happened is just every deck gets to do its thing more of the time. If your thing is not that good, then yes, you're probably going to keep losing games. But you were probably losing a lot of games before. You just got lucky sometimes where your opponent's mulliganed and then they had to mulligan to like 4 and it was like an unkeepable 4. Okay, so attacking with Daxos and Knight here. I guess they could throw everything at Daxos and kill it. In theory, if they have a burn spell, they can stop my Knight. But I think if I'm attacking with the Knight, I should attack with the Daxos as well. So gonna attack with both. See how she goes. It's a pretty good chance this works out well for me. The first strike, lifelink, and Heliod kind of works out really nastily. So we put lifelink on the Knight of the White Orchid. It deals first strike damage, which triggers my Heliod, and I put a +1/+1 counter on my Daxos. So Karizev dealt her 1 damage to Daxos, and Daxos is going to get bigger and then punch her back for 3. I'm also going to throw lifelink on the Daxos so that he is going to trigger as well. And I'm going to put that counter on probably the Knight of the White Orchid again. But now I'm at a very robust 16 life total, which should put me firmly out of reach for the burn deck. If they cracked in with everything they had right now, they would deal 6. Yeah, so the opponent concedes. So pivotal turn where they swung in with the Raptor, Rampaging Ferocidon, completely took them out of that game. So I think with different plays, they could have been okay there. Anywho, I think definitely Stasis Snare and Baffling End are fantastic in this matchup. So that's 4 cards I want to board in. Gideon the Trials is like a weird split of being medium, but probably medium minus. He can't block. He can't uptick on something to stop it from dealing damage to me, so that's like not useless. Oh, Rest in Peace is definitely no good here. So got 2 easy cuts in the Rest in Peace for the Baffling Ends. That's nice. And then maybe 1 or 2 Gideon the Trials for the Stasis Snares, and then we leave 1 Gideon the Trials and 1 Gideon of Zendikar. And that's kind of nice against an aggro deck because just cutting down on the clutter in your deck and the chance of getting beat up by drawing 2 of your legends is not bad. As Mark Rosewater said with their philosophy of getting rid of land destruction effects, the game is more fun when people get to play their spells. And that's sort of what the London Mulligan has done. All right, so we have Baffling End for 2, Knight of the White Orchid on 3. This hand looks worse than it is, but if we play a tapped Idyllic Grange on 1, then that means Ardenvale comes in untapped on 2, and then Nykthos on 3. On 3, we're going to play the Knight of the White Orchid and get another Plains, which means we're going to have 3 Plains for the Idyllic Grange. So this is actually a pretty good hand, assuming that they play a 1 or 2 drop for us to Baffling End. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this. It looks really awkward because there's actually no basic Plains. But it just, the only downside of this hand is if like we top deck a Thraben Inspector. That's not the best. Monastery Swiftspear. So maybe they are the more aggressive red deck and they just had like a not particularly aggressive draw. Because Chonky Red doesn't play Swiftspear normally. Anafenza is an okay draw here. Just gives us something different as an option on 2. Not a particularly good option, but it's an option. Baffling End is certainly better. I don't want them to have an Eidolon of the Great Revel, but I wouldn't be upset if they played it into my Baffling End here. They did not. Okay, so we could play this Castle Ardenvale, or we could play Basic Plains. I'm going to play the Basic Plains. Going to play... this can deal with creatures up to CMC 3, so I'm just going to play Anafenza out here. There's a good chance Anafenza eats it to a burn spell, but that's one less burn spell going at my head, and I don't really need her right now. If this is Stomp, yeah, okay. Stomp makes this feel slightly worse, but I still get to Baffling End that, so... Assuming that they have the third land here, we get to go... Knight of the White Orchid... Oh, Rampaging Froston. Even better. Even better. So I get to Baffling End that, so works out nicely that I sandbagged the Baffling End. As I was saying with Game 1, the play pattern that people started to learn and beat up on Chunky Red for understanding was the fact that they were so likely to play Stomp onto, is that you would just either not play creatures onto or play creatures that Stomp couldn't kill. Obviously, we had the option of just not playing the creature, but this worked out okay for us. If I play Idyllic Grange, it is going to trigger, and 3, as I mentioned before, is significantly different than 2, so I'm going to make my Knight of the White Orchid into a 3/3, and then we're going to Baffling End their Rampaging Froston and get rid of that bad boy. Enchantment-based removal is great against red. Red has no way to deal with it. So that's just gone, and now I just have this white pip that's just going to hang out forever with a very confused dinosaur hanging out there. He just doesn't know what's going on. Oh, this might be Thought-Knot Seer? No, second Rampaging Froston. Well, we're in an okay spot. We've got this Knight of the White Orchid rocking. It's so majestic. All right. I'm going to play Castle Ardenvale because I can activate it now. Playing this Heliod is not particularly good. I can't give anything lifelink, and I don't have enough devotion pips in play yet. Or rather, I can give something lifelink, but the lifelink won't actually translate to me gaining life. So being able to make a human token is more worthwhile right now, especially with the Ferocidon. If they swing at the Ferocidon, I can make the token, group block, and kill it with First Strike, so it won't even actually kill one of my tokens. Downside of this is if they have Thought-Knot Seer or Reality Smasher here, because it looks like they're playing the Boros Eldrazi mid-range deck. Okay, so now they're going to have to waste... Okay, they didn't swing this time, so they learned their lesson from last game. I'm going to take 1 damage to put the 1/1 into play here. It's like kind of marginal one way or the other, but my health total is high enough I feel okay doing it. Stasis Snare is a tremendous pickup for multiple reasons. Because it means I'm going to be able to turn on my Heliod, and I'm going to be able to do that at instant speed. So, could attack with my Knight of the White Orchid, but that would be like weird. I think it would just go through for 3, but there's enough things that could happen where I'm not excited about trying that. Bone Crusher, Swift Spear attack. I don't know what this means, but I'm going to fire off Stasis Snare here and see what happens. Because they were prepared to let me go to blocks there. I'm going to use this to exile the Rampaging Ferocidon. They don't have a Swift Spear in play. Or not a Swift Spear, a Soulscar Mage. So their burn spells don't have the Wither ability. They can't pump Bone Crusher Giant by playing spells. In theory, they could play enough spells to make their Monastery Swift Spear big enough that... What are they... Okay. They stomp my token. I don't... Okay. Maybe they thought that would turn off Heliod, but it doesn't. It wasn't giving me any devotion. So, some very speculative play from my opponent here, but I guess that happens sometimes. We get the game win there, so get the match win there. I'm just going to hop to the washroom real quick. We are now 2-1. Don't feel super good about that last one, but hey, earlier I beat QB Turtles, and he, she, they have 6 trophies, so that's a player. Back in a sec. All right, cue it up, baby. Alrighty. Heading on into match numero 4. Nombre 4. Okay, won the die roll. Good way to start. Feels real good to have a 2-land opener and a 26-land deck. Both of them are basic planes, so and we have a curve, so this is like close to the ideal draw. Gideon being all shiny and sunbaked and Mediterranean. Look at him wearing full armor in the middle of a desert. Who does he think he is? He's got his sweet weapon, the Searle. He's not gonna have it for long because Nicol Bolas is gonna kick his ass. But in this moment here, he was full of hope. Opponent missed their first main phase, but not the second. Good. Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. So could be the mono black aggro deck, but it is surprising not to see them have a play. I'm going to fire off Anafenza here. We shall see. Okay, I got a push. That's fine. If I don't hit a land next turn, then I'm just not going to play the Knight of the White Orchid. I'm going to crack a clue instead. Black-red. Black-red mid-range. Maybe vehicles? Could be. I did draw a land. So, can attack with this. So they probably have a Scrap Heap Scrounger in their hand. I can play my Gideon of the Trials this turn, or I can hold up Stasis Snare. I think playing the Gideon is best, and then ticking up on Heart of Kirin. So one of the nice things about Gideon of the Trials is he targets any permanent to prevent the damage that they would deal next turn. So no matter what they do here, they can't have the Heart of Kirin deal damage to me this turn, which is great, because my Gideon is on deck. Swift End, though, does deal with him nicely, so. But that was going to kill something at some point, so might as well get her done. All right. So they're on 3 lands. I need 4 lands, and I need more color. So I'm just going to crack in for 1, and I'm kind of stumbling, but I do have a clue to crack should the worst happen and they basically just do nothing. But there's a lot of ways this can go well for us. Rix Mahdi Reveler. So they're going to get to discard a card of their choice and then draw a card. That's a really cool card. Opponent's on a really cool list discard the excess Heart of Kirin. Like, that's a sweet synergy to have. But they did play out the land, so we're going to be able to play my Knight of the White Orchid next turn. If I Stasis Snare now, kind of sets me up nicely for next turn, but I think I'm just going to crack the clue. I think I'd rather save the Stasis Snare for better creature. Plains is fine. So we play Knight first. I can't get Idyllic Grange and have it do the thing. So just getting a basic Plains here. Yes. Shisha. Pocket Sand. I could still hold up Stasis Snare here and then have Heliod the next turn. But I'm not really afraid to take a single hit from Heart of Kirin. Heliod, though, once Heliod gets cooking, which 100% they will next turn, then I just get to start messing them up pretty badly. So they got Stamp. Stamp is all right here. Not my favorite, but this means they're going to have Bone Crusher next turn, and they can crew the Heart with that if they choose. One of the awesome things about this deck is like the weird ways it grabs card advantage, like playing Knight of the White Orchid. Knight of the White Orchid's a very neat card. And what you can do with the mana from it is great. So just cracking in with Rixmati Reveler. I want to block it because of the potential of Spectacle, but I think I'd just rather keep the cards in my hand. It does cost them 4 mana to play a Rixmati Reveler with Spectacle, so I will bite the bullet on that. We have Arcanist Owl that kind of puts us up a card next turn, so they're only on 5 lands. Knight doesn't get me a land drop, so just gonna play out my Arcanist Owl, I think. And then maybe we get to crack in with Heliod here. Rest in Peace ain't not bad. They're probably playing Scrap Heap Scrounger. Jam for 5. Alright. Somehow that connected against the black-red mid-range deck. I don't know how, but I'll take it. I will take it. I'm really not sure what is up with them not playing the Bone Crusher last turn and crewing the Heart to smack me, but I will take it. Rixmati Reveler, sure. Discard the last card in their hand. It was Kolaghan's Command. Yeah, that's not great against us. We don't play a lot of artifacts. They could go double crew, use both their creatures to crew the Heart of Kirin. Probably just going to attack for 2. I can get Heliod going this turn by playing Knight and Stasis Snare, or one of them in Rest in Peace. Without Knight getting me an extra land, I think I'd rather play the Rest in Peace. Stasis Snare is not bad to play. It's not my favorite. Like exiling the Heart would be great, but I will take the good with the bad, take them both, and there we have Heliod Suncrowned. There's this Angrath. Yeah, that's pretty good. So, gain control of target creature, untap it, against haste, sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step at converted mana cost 3 or less, which Heliod does, so it's going to get sacked at end of turn. So, Angrath is like an A+ card against our Heliod when it's live like that. Looks like I'm priced into playing the Knight of the White Orchid for no value. Thraben Inspector is going to get to pick off Angrath, so that's kind of great. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, that's a smart play. Well done. So that kind of had to happen no matter what, but Heart of Kirin does have the extra ability to remove a Planeswalker, or a loyalty counter from a Planeswalker you control to crew instead of how you would normally do it. Now, it does mean I can Baffling End it now, which I'm pretty sure I'm going to do, so kind of bites them in the butt. So Nykthos can tap for an extra white right now. So I'm going to do that, play Baffling End, get rid of their heart. And then I'm just going to crack the clue here. Castle Ardenvale is a good draw. This puts me firmly ahead of them on land, so I'm just going to jam the Knight of the White Orchid afterwards. But we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 white pips. So if we pick up a Ballista, it's going to be huge. Sorry, huge. Another Heliod would be acceptable as well. Hey, speak of the devil. So, hold on. So I go 7. Nykthos puts me down to 5, then up to 12. 14, so that's 7. So if I can hit them for 1 this turn, I kill them. But I have to do it without losing. Okay, so we play the Ballista pre-combat, because it guarantees my pips are the highest. I've got the highest of pips. We've got the highest of pips. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So they need a removal spell here to survive this turn. And they have to burn it on Thraben Inspector, which means what I will do is ping their Bone Crusher Giant for 1 after it blocks my Knight of the White Orchid. So the smart timing for them to use the room... No, there's no good timing for them to do here. I thought it would be after the first strike, but it doesn't matter. Because they push my Ballista. If they have exactly a second push, or if they have a shock, I get a little bit beat up here. But I'm going to put them to 1. Am I? Alright. Moment of truth. Do I ping the Bone Crusher Giant to ensure that my Knight stays alive? The problem is they've got at least 1 Murderous Rider coming in next turn. So just put them to 1. And then if they don't have shock or... Okay, they do. Shoot. Yeah. So there was a good timing for them to do it, and it was just before damage. I thought I was going to get to kind of squeeze their timing a little bit there by making them choose that beforehand, but I couldn't do it if they had exactly 2 1-mana removal spells. Worth admitting that I did not fully work that out ahead of time, so this is where I can look at games and go, I'm not that good at Magic. Gideon the Trials is an okay pickup. He's going to target the Bone Crusher, stop it from dealing damage. Although I suppose targeting the Murderous Rider is like a little bit better because that was a mistake. I would have been able to make... No, I have to target the Bone Crusher because otherwise it just swings in and kills my Gideon. Which is unfortunate. I have to let them gain some life here. Wild Slash, my Gideon, shoot. Okay, so Gideon's still going to die. So seriously screwed up there, back to back. So I should have cast the Gideon off of basic lands, and then I could use the Nykthos to make a Castle Ardenvale token here. No, I couldn't do that. Never mind. We're good. That was not a legal play, so it doesn't matter. Just gotta top deck another Walking Ballista sooner than later. That is not one. Okay, so looks like we maybe lost this game. Real close. Real close. They managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory here. So they're going to 7, and they're putting us to 6. Gonna Castle Ardenvale. Yep. And there's the Walking Ballista, turn too late. So if I add mana equal to my devotion, I don't get much. So add mana equal to my devotion, still don't get much. So this comes in as a 4. So I can block one Murderous Rider and shoot the Bone Crusher Giant. Does that mean anything? So yeah, the best thing to do is block a Murderous Rider. Kill the Bone Crusher. And then deal 1 damage to the player. So if we top deck a Owl, we could be okay. Arcanist Owl. Pick up a Ballista. The Owl will champ block. Oh, they slash me to 2. They have another burn spell? They do not. Stasis Snare plus Ardenvale. Snare. It just costs too much mana. I think 1, 2, 3. But then I can't activate the Nykthos and then activate the Castle Ardenvale, so yeah, just not going to be able to do it. So gotta go to a game 3. I think I'm mostly happy with my sideboarding. Could have more Baffling Ends. Oh, Elspeth Conquers Death might be okay. Maybe a Gideon ally of Zendikar is better than a 3rd Gideon of the Trials. No, the Elspeth Conquers Death is probably the better there. Although I didn't see any Scrap Heap Scroungers at all from them or anything like it, so I think I don't need the Rest in Peace. Having more exile-based removal doesn't really help against adventure creatures so much, but they are permanents that add devotion pips for me and remove their creatures in a way that they can't get them back in any way. It's just hard removal. I wonder if I'm thinking about this matchup in the wrong way. I wonder if I'm supposed to be on the beatdown here. It's a tricky one. It definitely seems like they have more card advantage than we do, more inevitability, but it's an interesting matchup. Definitely having some good magic here. That's a very, very good opening draw. Gonna keep that one. Thoughtseize or... Well, Thoughtseize wouldn't be great for this draw, but we would survive. I'm a survivor. I'm going to make it. Our awesome Field of Wheat Plains. Thank you, John Avon. They finally got the turn 1 Thoughtseize, so would assume my Walking Ballista is going to eat it here. It does mean I get to play the wonderful Daxos Blessed by the Sun on turn 2. That ain't not bad. If we were going to be on the beatdown in a game, I would like my opponent to start off with Shock Thoughtseize, I suppose. Knight of the White Orchid also gives me the option to give the Daxos 4 toughness next turn. Alright, well, I'm just going to fire off Thraben Inspector. And let's just get Knight of the White Orchid down. I think I'm just committing to an aggressive game. We're up by a card. Hopefully it'll be relevant. They probably have Stamp here. Although Thraben Inspector is a 2-for-1, so... Okay. Alright, this could be going worse. Fire off Arcanist. Yeah, Stasis Snare, okay. We missed an Anafenza and a Nykthos and something else in there, but that's fine. We weren't going to be able to get those anyway. It's just worth knowing that those are on the bottom. I missed one of them, so should be slightly more aware of the contents of my library. Chandra. Yeah, it's probably going to kill my owl. Yeah. That's okay. Slows down my beatdown, but in terms of the power of a 4-mana play, it's not too good. Okay, so she's at 1 loyalty. Sorry, just making sure that I attack correctly. Just play out Gideon of the Trials here. And just make an emblem, I suppose. I think it's better to tick him up against the burn deck. So their Canyon Slough is not going to deal any damage to me until my next turn. Hopefully they don't have a sweet spell that animates only bicycle lands. Okay, this might be Angrath. Yep. I think they're probably just going to whack my hand here. They grab my knight, and they're going to attack my Gideon. So it's funny because I was thinking about it, and I was like, should I tick up on one of my cards? No, that makes no sense. And I definitely could have. So worth thinking about for future matchups against that deck. Alright, so that just dies. Nothing I can do about that. Okay, so make my guy Gideon a 4/4. Thraben Inspector kills Angrath. Gideon kills Dark Helmet. Worth noting, they brought it up on the Faithless Brewing podcast, and I really didn't think anything of it, but this game is a perfect example. The difference between Planeswalkers that activate their ability and go to 1 loyalty versus if those Planeswalkers had been going to 2 loyalty in this game, it would be completely different in terms of what resource I would have had to commit to them. Slaughter games. Yeah, okay, so that's going to take my Ballista, which sucks. I think I still get to kill them. Yeah. As the 4-mana version of the spell, the Ballista they take out of my hand, I do not get to draw a card for. So the newer versions of this effect cost 3 usually, and then whenever they take a card out of your hand, you get to draw a card as a replacement for it. But so playing Stasis Snare here animates my Heliod. Killing my Thraben Inspector doesn't. Oh, what did they? Lol, oops. I want to know what happened. What did they? Did they name the wrong card or what? All right, so opponent maybe made a mistake there. It doesn't. Oh, name Slaughter Games for Slaughter Games. All right, they left before I dropped my sick plug. Oh no, that was game 2. So wonder if I should have less Baffling Ends in my deck, but I think I like the way I set it up. Stream Snipe incoming. Oh, Pogo Shark. People aren't bad. People are fundamentally good. And I don't say that just because I'm playing a mono-white deck. Alright, so against the black-red mid-range deck, this is pretty unkeepable. That is better, but not great. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to ship one of these planes. I'm going to get into this on an Owl's Wing and an Owl's Prayer. Sorry, I'm on the draw. Sorry, I'm a little out of it. Is Pogo Shark your opponent? No, Pogo Shark is our one stream regular other than you. And Pogo Shark does not know me IRL. I think Pogo Shark might be the first actual factual internet viewer that I've picked up. Pogo, I know you like Urza decks, and the next one is going to be a sweet one, so stick around. I lost my Chads. I am Chadless. Wow, this is this is a really, really bad draw now. Oh, Roy, don't scare the boy now. Or girl, or human. Of any shape. Or affiliation. Gideon of the Trials. So I think I'm going to Gideon here because if I draw any land in this deck, I can Arcanist Owl next turn. So does mean I have a sexily exposed Gideon. He's just exposing himself on this battlefield, but I think we're going to be okay. Rixmani Reveler is fine. That is a very low impact card to play. This is one of those cards where it's like, oh, dude, it's like Budget Bedlam. Wow, that's obnoxious. It's like Budget Bedlam Reveler. It's like, yeah, it really is like Budget Bedlam Reveler. It's really nowhere near as powerful. So this land is a tad unfortunate. I need another white source to get to Arcanist Owl. But Castle Ardenvale makes this feel not as bad as it could. Hopefully they don't have a second Rixmati Reveler. Then we would be in not the greatest of shape. Get to Thoughtseize one of my owls. That's fine. Heart of Kirin, they cannot crew right now, so that's exactly in the family of things I wanted. Heliod, don't mind if I do. So next turn I get to crack in with a 3/3 lifelink owl, assuming it doesn't die. They can't currently crew, and that land doesn't help. Okay, so play the Heliod. Activate on Owl. Go cracking in here. Grow my Owl. Make my Owl big and strong. Slith Owl. Played the Uro Urza Ren and 6 deck for FNM, won 3-1, losing only the blue-black mill. It was super fun. That's awesome, man. That is my my own homebrew, as I have usually kind of introduced it, and it's exciting to hear someone else playing it. It is a super fun deck. I want to get some tireless trackers in there, but I think they're probably just not as good as the Uro, but it's like Swift End. Sure, they got all fancy with their sequencing for no particularly good reason there. But Tracker was like really mediocre in the other Urza deck I played it in, but I don't think it was Tracker's fault. I think it was the way that deck was built. Plains is not great here, but we can eventually claw our way back into this. Let's see if we will. Yeah, Murderous Rider's pretty good. They use that to crew the heart. It's actually kind of good for us because this is going to give us an opening to attack for 1 with a human token and then make it into a 2/2. I guess the upside of this for them was that it was better than... okay, Stasis Snare doesn't give me enough devotion pips, so we're just going to lifelink my human, attack. And then if they give me the opportunity to snare their Murderous Rider, I will. Yeah. And now they're in an awkward... What is this? What? Why would you... They must have a Planeswalker or something that they're going to play so that they can... Or a creature that's going to be able to crew this next turn. Spectacled Brixmati Reveler. Yeah, that's really, really good. Okay. So... hopefully... And then another Rixmati Reveler. Okay. Woof. Alright. So, if I draw a single white pip, I can play Stasis Snare plus that other card and turn on my Heliod. So, I think I use my mana now to just make another token. Kind of gives me the most chance to make something happen here. Let's draw a Ballista. It's not a Ballista. So Stasis Snare not being good enough here. So we're just kind of still under the gun. Luckily they haven't been attacking with Murderous Rider. So if I attack with this human token, I can give it lifelink and then make my other human into a 3/3. Yeah. Which is definitely where I want to be. Yeah. Trigger, put the counter on my human. So this Belle is super buff. She's been hitting the gym. She's been doing bunch of jazzercise or Zumba, getting toned up. Cycles Canyon Slew, yep. Red-black mid-range deck definitely showing off its ability to grind here. Tapped for Boding Ruins, sure. Crew the Heart, yeah. I really don't want to exile Heart because exiling Murderous Rider is so much more important to the sort of eventual idea that I could win this game. So I'm going to exile their Murderous Rider, end of turn. Then hopefully we turn on Heliod here and he just becomes the Abyss. That's a Ballista. Okay, so I need to be able to lifelink it twice, and I need to be able to play it as a 2/2. So Nykthos taps for 4, and then I have 4 left over afterwards. So only double removal spell saves them here. Which I'm okay with losing to that at this moment. Okay, so ping you. Yeah, we did it. All right, having the combo kill gets us there again. Sweet. So 3-1 heading into the final match. So exactly like my league this morning, I got completely bulldozed in my first match and then did very well for the rest of the league. The slight difference being that the first match this league was against Inverter. The first match last league was against Blue-Green Monsters, I'm going to call it. Yeah, Blue-Green Eldrazi, the return of the spaghetti monsters. So, but I did beat that deck later on in the league earlier today. So maybe we'll hit Inverter again and I'll win. Possibly. This deck is super sweet. It's one of the good mono-colored decks that is tearing up Pioneer, and it is probably the most fun I've had playing a mono-white deck in a long, long time. Maybe ever. It's just a lot of neat combat interactions. You get to play some good, high-quality hate pieces. Playing a 26 land deck is like right up my alley. It's just... yeah, and then you get that very mid-range angle, just like the Urza deck, where you can kind of become a lot more aggressive or a lot more controlling in certain matchups. Obviously, the Urza deck is much more controlling most of the time, and this deck is a little bit more aggressive most of the time, but they do have that upper mid-range feel that I enjoy. I think Roy would be happy if I ever registered this at a team tournament, because you got to play the deck that has the auto win button. You got to have that punch the I win button. Which I feel would be like a big green button, because the I lose button would be the big red button. All right, here's a kind of interesting hand. It's chonky and slow. It can't technically cast the owl. In the dark, I think I'm going to keep this on the play. Just trust that my deck is going to give me more stuff to do. I like keeping 7 where I can. So if we do get Thoughtseize, it's going to be a little bit disastrous, but Fortified Village, all right. Shenanigans, you say? I did beat a Bant Company deck last match. Maybe we're going to see something the same. So now we get to play Anafenza, the Kintree Spirit. She's not the 4-most. Maybe she's the 3-most, I guess. Or no, she's the 2-most. She's a 2/2. So this is going to give me a 3/3 Anafenza next turn. All right, so green-white monsters. I don't know what this means. I can bolster my Knight of the White Orchid. Oh, I can bolster my Walking Ball here. So, but if I do that, I can't cast the Arcanist Owl next turn. I think I'm okay with that. So the way this interaction works, and this lets you combo a turn earlier with Heliod sometimes. When you play Walking Ballista as a 1/1, it triggers Anafenza. Whenever a creature comes into play, you bolster for 1. And if you play Walking Ballista for 1, obviously it's going to have the lowest toughness. So it becomes a 2/2, or it just gets another counter. And then I'm going to be able to do the same thing next turn with playing the Knight. That'll give my Ballista an extra counter. So we're going to take 5 here, but I think that's fine. We don't have any life gain in this hand, but this deck is very powerful and controlling, so we can sometimes. And we have things like Baffling End and Stasis Snare that'll pull us out of this pretty quickly. They're just giving me so many targets for my Walking Ballista. Good God! It's going to be a massacre. Yes, I only played dorks, my opponent said. I can believe it. Alright, so we're playing Knight of the White Orchid this turn. Doesn't fetch me a plains, but it does trigger Anafenza. So if I attack with either creature, they could triple block. In which case I would ping one elf. So I'm going to attack with only Anafenza. If they triple block Anafenza, I ping one elf, and then the other two die to her, which I'm definitely okay with. I'm going to assume that they are not, because they might chump block it. Triple block. Okay, they are going for the triple block. Okay, I'm just going to wipe them out here. Just having them on as little mana as possible is fine by me. I guess I lose devotion pips this way, so actually it might be more correct to toss my Walking Ballista here. Yeah, because Heliod gets me out of this anyway by giving me a bunch of lifelink. And without my devotion pips in play, I wouldn't be able to play this Arcanist Owl next turn, which would draw me to the next Ballista or a Heliod. So I'm fairly sure that, given the information that I have right now, that this is an okay play. It seems awkward, but they're just on such low resources right now. Now, admittedly, it might be that their deck kind of wants to be. Like, they're not really going to play anything bigger than a 3-drop. Although, this leads me to believe that they're almost definitely playing Collected Company. So, alright, so I can play Daxos. Then I can Arcanist Owl for 6 mana. So I can put this on whichever creature I choose. I'm going to bolster onto Knight of the White Orchid because it has first strike. And then when I play the Owl, I get to bolster again. This one is forced to go onto Anafenza because Anafenza has the lowest toughness. Do get a bunch of triggers. So bolster, gain 1. And then we look at the top. Arcanist Owl or Rest in Peace. I'll take another Owl here. I'm assuming that the graveyard is not too important to them. Interesting question is, do I want to attack? So this can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. I currently have 2 3/3s, so I could group block it now and kill it. So I'm not really excited about attacking. Let's see what their Collected Company gets them. It's a high variance card. I do not enjoy playing Collected Company decks because sometimes they do that. It's like, here's my 4 mana instant. It got me a 1/1. Please tell me it got them something else. Oh my god. Only dorks, eh? Let me tell you something, folks. Sometimes your deck just doesn't want to win the game, and that's okay. That's like, you can't make it win. You can lead a deck to water, but you can't make it not stink. Okay, so they didn't attack, which is good because that would have put me in the awkward spot of having to choose whether to throw my Arcanist Owl in front of them, which I did not want to do. Gideon of the Trials is a-okay here. So I can't play an Owl without using my Nykthos, but good golly, I have so much mana. This deck is doing disgusting, disgusting things. Baffling End is great. Daxos gains me 1. This time, I do have a choice of where my ++1 counter goes. I'll put it on the Knight of the White Orchid, so now I can swing in unmolested. Can play Baffling End here. Exile a Steel Leaf. Play Gideon. Gideon can prevent the Llanowar Elves from dealing any damage. And so, I mean, this is just an exercise in completing a game. I guess they could have Collected Company for something relevant, something that gives hexproof. More dorks. Reverent Hunter, what does that do? Put a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to your devotion to green. Neat. So that's like a 6/6 right now. So that's what I'm going to be targeting with Gideon. Super. I don't want to go to the next step. Here's my Chad. There are many like him, but this one is the one I currently control. And then just attack with my owl, I guess. I could attack with these other two creatures, and then if they swing back, I have a 2/17 to block their creature that doesn't deal any damage, and they have 2/1/1s. So basically, just get to go in for a little bit more damage this way. And by a little bit, I mean 3, which is not that little. Seems good. Steel Leaf. Yep. So I have 6 power and flyers, which ain't not bad. So the way this board is set up, I can't get through. So I'm just going to keep telling their hunter that it can't do anything. Luckily, this human archer does not have reach, which is pretty great. So we're going to put them to 6, and that means they're dead on board. If I draw a Walking Ballista, I can go 17, 32. I can play a Walking Ballista for, I think, 32, 16, plus I have 2 more, so 17. I think I can play a Walking Ballista for 17. So that'd probably be lethal. I haven't done the math, but I think that'd be lethal. 6. What is this? Voracious Hydra? Walking Ballista for 3. Yeah, that'll kill one of my Arcanist owls, so I guess that's okay. It's a pretty good draw. I mean, it keeps them alive. Now I draw Walking Ballista. Idyllic Grange. Alright, so this gives me incentive to force the action here. But it only makes me do 1 more damage, so maybe it's not really worth doing. I think if I target the Ballista, they have to use it. And then I attack with everything, putting the counter on Daxos. Okay, so I plus this on the Ballista. Now they have to respond by killing one of my Arcanist owls. And then I play the Idyllic Grange, making Daxos 3 power. And then I have 3 creatures on the ground with at least 3 power, plus 3 in the air. So we just win this turn, instead of having to navigate. Yep. Can yield to abilities from this Walking Ballista till end of turn, so they can freely molester my... Oh, but it's still my priority first. It's awkward when you do this on your turn. So Daxos gains me 1 life. Okay. Then I play this Grange. Target Daxos. Then we swing with everything. Got him. Of course, our opponent did draw like 8 mana dorks. It wasn't actually. It was they drew 3 or 4 naturally. One's in exile. No, Steely's in exile. They drew 3 naturally, and then they collected company into 1. So I would not assume that is how that game will go the next round. So Stasis Snare seems great. Baffling End seems great. Elspeth Conquers Death seems okay. And then Gideon... Almost all the Gideons are probably not good here. Rest in Peace is worse than at least 1. I think everything else is probably okay. I brought in more double pips, so I think we're okay on those. The devotion angle of this deck is something I'm not used to thinking about so much, but I think with the way we're doing this is going to be fine. All right, opponent, let's do it. All right. On the draw, game the second. It's a good chance they might have some enchantment removal, so we will need to watch out for that. But this is a great draw. So I can play Thraben Inspector on 1, Thraben Inspector on 2. Feel pretty good about that. Baffling End or Stasis Snare, I was about to say, along the way would be great. Baffling End would be really nice because that means on turn 3 I could play Knight, land, and then Baffling End something, but Beggar, not Chooser. Stasis Snare will be able to deal with that bad boy. Hopefully they don't have one of their like nut draws where they get to go Coco next turn and then just wreck me. I wonder if I should just fire off this Ballista here. I think that's correct. I was going to fire off this Ballista aggressively and kill the elf. Obviously on the play would have been way better, but I think denying them the turn 3 Collected Company with the way this game could go if they had it is worth doing. Turn 3 Collected Company is like real bad. One of the two draws I'm looking for on this turn are Idyllic Grange or Baffling End. They don't have a land. That is... Oh, they do. Whew. Okay. Baffling End. But hey, better lucky than good, my friends. So we get to go Knight, trigger. You gotta call your shots. You can't have those sick stream moments if you don't call your shots. Take out your steel leaf. Get out of here. And I think we'll just... if I attack, they're not going to block it. I don't think they will. They don't want to go down to just having 1/1 in play. They're down to 2 cards in hand. Hopefully they don't have a Collected Company. They do have 2 Lovestruck Beasts in exile, but that's really not... They don't attack, so they have the Collected Company. Understood. So... do I want to hold up Stasis Snare, or do I want to play Arcanist Owl? I think we play the Owl here. I don't think Collected Company can just kill me outright. And finding a Walking Ballista like that is pretty good. If I pick up a Nykthos next turn or a Heliod, now I have enough Devotion pips in play that they're going to be a lot more live than they would be otherwise. So... still learning this deck, but we're doing okay with it. Okay, so here's the company. With. Get some mana elves. Yorvo and an Elvish Mystic. That's not too bad. So 6/6 Yorvo. He's a fatty. He's a big boy. Does not have trample, I believe. Yes. Okay. So I can block Yorvo here, but I think I'll just take it. See how we go. They can play 1 Lovestruck Beast. Hopefully they don't have a second Collected Company. That would be really rough. They have a second Collected Company. That's brutal. All right, so I really would like to draw land. Nykthos preferred. Yes, I would like to draw a Nykthos. Please, can I draw a Nykthos? Alright, so I can play Baffling End before the Nykthos and still activate it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 devotion to white, which ain't not bad. I guess I just play out a 4/4 Ballista here and leave myself unable to snare. The other option is snare plus crack the clue. I'm at 10. I think snare plus clue is probably slightly better. And then that also means I have more mana for my Ballista next turn. So we'll see what they find here. Hopefully it's not like completely devastating. I do have instant speed interaction for the most threatening half of the collected company. So let's see if this company can finally get its stuff together and do something. So 9, 10, 11. So I'm going to have 11 devotion pips next turn. Can move 12 with Thraben Inspector. So just activating the Nykthos gives me 3 cranks on Walking Ballista. This is like March of the Multitudes. Chord of Calling. Sure. What? Shalai? Is it Shalai? Voice of Plenty? Because that's like great for me. They would need to top deck a land to make it all that good, so. Shillelagh. Is it? Is it Shalai? It's gotta be, right? I can't think of any other. Sirach the Hunt Caller? Because then they could give one of their Lovestruck Beasts haste and attack for 10. Ronos. Sure. So I don't need to do anything with that, so that's fine. Nykthos. It's a lot of mana. Right, they can give their... No, the best thing for them to do is just cast a Lovestruck Beast because they need to pump twice to get a creature big enough, which they can't do anymore. So do I just Stasis Snare the Beast? I don't think so. I think we just Stasis Snare the Ronos. Then we're just going to completely annihilate their board next turn, so Lovestruck Beast won't be able to attack, and I have a 2/2 first strike here, so even if they give something a bonus, it's not going to give them a good attack. So we good. Looks like we got this game pretty locked up. This deck is real good in this like very tempo-oriented format that Pioneer has been. Haven't run into Breach yet, but we can definitely beat them. Okay. You're walking into disaster here, friend. I do not recommend that you do the thing. Don't do the thing. Just friendly recommendation. Don't do it. Don't do it. Take 4 points of mana burn. But I can't take the damage, friend. I can't. They have more lands than me, so I actually get to go up a land by playing Knight of the White Orchid. Just get me Idyllic Grange. Put the counter on my Knight. Then just play Super Enormous Ballista. I can play the Thraben Inspector before I activate the Nykthos. 14. 7/7 Ballista. So I could just literally board wipe them. But what we're gonna do is go attack step, crack in with my first strike and my 3/3. If they block my knight, I ping their Lovestruck Beast twice, and then I can kill their human tokens. Combat tricks. Let's get to rock around to bring up on time, get tricky. I don't know all the words. Get tricky, tricky. Here we go. It's time to rock around with the old time, get tricky. Get tricky, tricky, tricky. I met this little girly. Her hair was kind of curly. Killed that one. Kill that one. Alright, now F6. Turn is yours, girly. Alright. Play Anafenza. Let's look at this sweet difference in these Lovestruck Beasts. I can crank my Ballista an ungodly number of times, but they're done. They've had enough. So a second 4/1 in a row with this deck. So generally feeling very good. Yamakiller's build looking great in action here. The other one had some cuter pieces like a one of Tomic, Distinguished Advocist in the main deck, and then there was an enchantment that let you manifest the top card of your library. Those were both kind of cute. They never came up, but they were... Actually, the Tomic probably came up. Tomic is definitely something you can play as a sideboard slot if Nissa, Who Shakes the World, is very popular. Generally, I don't know if I have any thoughts about what I would change in this deck. I would definitely want to jam the Inverter matchup and the Underworld Breach matchup a bunch, just to understand the strengths and weaknesses of this deck in that particular matchup, and then how you want to navigate those games. But against a lot of the middle-of-the-road creature decks and such in this format, you could see how, even though they seemed to have more powerful individual cards sometimes, the total package that this deck is just quite good. And then Heliod just hanging out in play and being very difficult to remove, and then giving you this consistent opening where you can just Ballista people is definitely good. I mean, I don't know, I haven't played against these decks too many times. I don't know why they're not that popular in the queue, but they're definitely quite fun to play and pretty darn powerful. So if you're looking for something to play in Pioneer that is creature-oriented, kind of mid-range, kind of controlling, and isn't Inverter or Breach, this might be the deck for you. You get to do some obscene things with Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. Coming up next on Mana Symbol Channel is going to be what I have referred to as Urza's Sly Breach. This is a very interesting Urza deck featuring the card Sly Requisitioner. So if you're into Urza decks like my friend here, Pogo Shark, you just stick yourself around. We'll be back in a few.